Want to know what the voiceover casting director at Pandora and SiriusXM is looking for? We do.
Hi, I'm Kim Wilson.
And I'm Natasha Marchewka.
And this is Speechless. Welcome to our behind-the-scenes take on real life in VO, where we share our stories, our resources, and our unsolicited opinions. I got it right this time. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm excited for today. This
Oh.
is our second time having this guest, and he is chock full of information.
As usual, Steve Pogatch is the senior voiceover casting director at SiriusXM Pandora. Yeah. And he knows his stuff about voiceover, that is for sure. So we wanted to have him on again. And we're digging deep on things like, reads, the reads that are on SiriusXM and Pandora. What is the right kind of read in order to do well there?
Because they're very different than a casual commercial read.
Yeah, than anything, really. But he'll explain. Okay, and lots more. Watch the show.
Speechless. Speechless.
Hi.
Hello. What's up, y'all?
How are you? So great to see you always.
I'm good.
I like your picture, your guitar picture.
Yeah, it's better than the real person, isn't it? Okay.
No, stop it.
Picture. That's another one, though, isn't it? I've seen that before.
I haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm. What did you bring to drink today, Steve? Did you bring anything?
I brought
Liquid Death? Liquid Death?
Yes.
Yes.
They have this new sodas called they have like a cola, root beer, and this is one called Cherry Obituary. I just love the names, and they have iced teas, which are really good too.
Cool.
But
so Natasha and I have both bought Liquid Death ever since our last podcast with you because we thought it was so cool.
I got one for Mother's Day. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
put it in my gift basket. Just the one. The water one.
Water.
What does that say? Happy Mother's Day. Here's some Liquid Death.
No, he knows I love it.
Yeah.
As a Steve.
Awesome.
So you brought that. What did you bring him?
I made a jam and gin. So it's Brockman's with raspberry jam, some fresh lemon, and a little bit of seltzer.
That's impressive.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Impressive. I brought a rejuvenating raspberry ginger with electrolytes mood drink.
Oh, ooh, I like that.
Mood.
Cool. Does that have THC in it?
No.
Oh, never mind.
No, it's
CBD.
Egg, actually. But anyway, they taste good. I love them.
Well,
cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for being here, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
Word. So happy to have you here. You're such a popular guy, Steve.
I know.
If we didn't share this last time about you, Steve is really good at being, what's that called? That app where you can name the song?
Name that voice actor. Name that
Shazam.
Shazam. You're the Shazam man.
So Steve is the voiceover Shazam.
Yes.
The sounds of we're going to put you on the spot after we get off the air with.
Oh my God, that would be so fun. Play a game.
Sound like. Give us our doppelgangers.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
100%. 100%. All right.
So go ahead, Kim. Ask him our first burning question.
So my first question, I think before we even start, it's helpful to talk about the podcast world and the podcast advertising world in general. And there are two main types of reads that you discussed at VO Atlanta. And I was wondering if you could talk about those.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, these are like just in my world. And I don't know what it's called in the rest of the world, but I know in general, I mean, you guys may have come across it too. Like there's the host read, which, if you guys are given an ad to read, or you have a sponsor or something like that, you have to honor the sponsor and just do that sort of read. So that's what we call a host read. And those are sold, to the various podcasts. And they are usually given like a page of bullet points, I would say, or some hosts. Each host has their own personality and flavor and
Mhm.
how they want to handle a host read.
Mm.
I know, for example, Conan O'Brien will be like handed a page of bullet points, and he likes to ad lib. Highly recommend do some homework or
Yes. Yeah.
listen on your own to Conan O'Brien's bidet advertisement.
Oh, okay.
He, it is, I mean, it's 4 or 5 minutes where you'll just be tearing up,
Oh my God.
crying because it's so hilarious.
We'll put it in
He's
our
reading it,
newsletter.
yeah, and I think it was from our copywriter who handed not necessarily handed him the bullet points
Mhm.
directly, but it goes down, through conveyor belts or whatever it is. Uh,
Conveyor belts.
gets to him eventually, and he's like looking at the copy. He's like, "What the f is it?" It's just yeah, it's on YouTube. It's everywhere.
What has my
Yeah,
career come to? Yeah.
that's exactly what he says. It's like, I went
Ah,
to college. I didn't do any crimes. It's just, oh my God. I can listen to it every day and still just
Uh,
get the same amount of
oh my God.
laughter and tears from my eyes just water from laughter every time I hear it. It's so great. Anyways,
So
that's the
it's Conan
host read.
O'Brien needs friends. Was it?
Needs
Is
a
it
friend.
needs a
Yeah.
friend? Mhm.
Yeah. Their network is on SiriusXM. So we actually, I think, handle some of the copy for some of the ads that he does. And actually, I think it won an award too, that particular ad, which
Mm.
is great.
Oh, cool.
wow. His improv, his whole riff on that just won an award.
Yeah, it's epic. So yeah,
Wow.
do your
Okay.
homework and check it out. I urge everybody. It's a great laugh. And so the host read, and then also when I was a couple years ago, or I don't know how many years now, maybe three, when SiriusXM bought the company Stitcher, which was a podcast app or a podcast company. We had to kind of figure out, okay, well, what is this podcast advertising going to be like, as we start to handle some of this stuff and to take it over. And so we had to just kind of think on our feet and what is this, style of ad going to be? And we coined it announcer reads, which doesn't sound right to a voice talent who's used to getting the direction announcer
Mhm.
or conversational. It's like one or the other, but the term announcer has nothing to do with a direction or style. It's more like that's just what the topic is, and it may not be called that in the rest of the world, but that's just what it's called in our
In your
umbrella.
podcast world, in your podcast
Yeah, and that's
world.
basically when we have one of our talents from my roster read a podcast ad, and there's a particular flavor for an announcer read, and I don't know if I'm getting too far, but
No,
like
keep
it's
going.
okay, but it's like it really is. It's just like the regular style of commercial that we've been doing for years, but it's like even more. The conversational word is just so beaten to death
Mm.
already. But
Mm.
it's like
Yeah.
you know, but it's an offshoot, I'd say, of conversational, and
Mhm.
the word I love to use, casual, is a little bit more.
Mhm.
And it's like the way you got to think about when you hear your favorite podcast hosts read an ad. It's like you two. You're just talking amongst yourselves, and then all of a sudden you got to read an ad. It's like, oh yeah, and then you're going to read an ad like and talk about, oh yeah, well I just I got this package of food, and I was gonna try it out with my family, and they don't like to eat this kind of stuff normally, but it's so that's like a typical host read ad.
Mhm.
But we an announcer read is a script, but I would say if you can think like a host and get
Think
into
like
that
a
kind of
host.
get into
Mhm.
that kind of storytelling, mode,
Mhm.
and that may put you in the right place to voice one of those ads. Hopefully the script is written in a way that's like that. I'm not saying it's totally ad lib at all, and it shouldn't be. You have to honor the script in this case, but like,
Mhm.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
It
So
makes
the
yeah.
first is complete improv because you just get points, and the second is the same style, but you actually have a script in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So
It's yeah.
is there any room when you're like, I'm just thinking, if I was to voice a podcast commercial,
Mm-hmm.
is there any room for me? I'm trying to get real casual and make get into my
Yeah.
conversational mood. Is there any
Mm-hmm.
room for a little bit of improv? Like a little bit
Mhm.
of like, hey,
Yeah,
XYZ,
you know,
XYZ.
sometimes I mean, like I'll get reads like that from talents, and I might just cut out that, hey, or
So it
if the
has to
cl
be. It has to be the script then.
usually yes. It depends on the client too. Sometimes I
Okay.
can. Sometimes we may be able to put in some of that nonverbal stuff, like if it's a food ad, you throw in a in there somewhere, and I can sell it, or
Yeah.
sometimes I'm cutting out breaths. I'm always cutting out breaths, but sometimes leaving breaths in the right place will actually sell something too really well, like a read, make it
Yeah.
seem like you're really, really on it. So in some cases, I'm like, oh, that breath is really, if I cut it out, it doesn't sound like they're being real. So I might just leave that stuff in. So that kind of stuff, it just depends also on the client in terms of honoring the script. But if you can think that way before
Mhm.
you're like, hey, let me tell you about this, Etsy, for example. Let me tell you about, my I got my grandmother this cool necklace. Just doing the lead in. The lead in is like the story, and you can pretend you're the podcast host doing the lead in story as your podcast host, but then kick into the script. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Mhm.
a good way to maybe get on the starting block. If you're running a race or a marathon.
I'm trying to think
But
of the
yeah,
difference between a casual conversational commercial
yeah,
and an announcer podcast read. And I think the word that you keep going back to, or the trick that you keep going back to, is become a podcast host and have that product in front of you.
yeah.
That's
I
what it
mean,
sort of feels
and you
like.
can't do that. Obviously, you don't have the liberty of every time you have an ad sent that product. You know what I mean? But to
Right.
be able to think that way, and it should be
Right.
like that with any script. And what I say also is, if you're good at the conversational commercial read, you're 80% there. You know what I mean? It's just getting those little extra things and just being able to think that way. And also, you don't want to come in with this super, like commercially vibe, like the inflections and sing-songy inflections and stuff like that. Because if you hear it in a podcast where you just have two hosts who are just like being casual, talking to one another, it's gonna like kind of interrupt the flow of everything. Does that
Right.
make sense? Yeah.
Introducing Meow Mix.
Yeah. It's like,
Well,
Right.
no, oh my God, my cats are out of control. I got this new clumpy meow mix. Oh no, what I'm thinking of the litter.
litter.
Sorry.
Right. 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 Right.
I don't have cats, so I don't know how it all works. But yeah, meow
You have a
mix,
dog, right?
litter, it's the same thing, right? I don't know.
You have a dog, right? A little. You have a.
I have two pugs, and they're completely
Pugs.
insane.
Oh my God, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
they're just
Okay, I have to show you
like,
guys. He was crying at me before, but
oh,
wait,
Where is he?
you have a big dog, don't
Oh,
you? Oh wow,
yes.
yeah.
a Great Dane, and he was crying at
Oh
me,
my God.
Oh my God.
and I can't, I wish I could get him on the cat. Like he'll put his head in here, but he can't. He can't step
How
in.
how how much does he weigh, Natasha?
Oh, well, over 150. I
Oh
don't know
my
exactly. He's afraid of
God.
the scale, so we can't get his
Wow.
new weight.
Yeah. We have a actually we this is really weird. We have a pug meetup every
Oh my God.
Sunday, like
Okay,
miles from our house, and
I
it's like
think I love you.
so random. But these one couple, they have a pug and they have a mastiff, and the
What?
mastiff is like probably 175 pounds.
Bigger
But if
than
you look
MacGyver.
closely at a mastiff and a pug next to each other, a
Yeah.
mastiff is like a giant pug. Really, it's
Similar
like,
face.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
yeah, the
face.
same
Yeah.
floppy ears, like, and then the
Although they have the
pushed in
constant
face.
drool.
Yeah. Oh, the
Those
slobbery.
mastiffs,
Yeah.
you have to bring that towel with you everywhere you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
Brrrah.
it's so funny. They're huge. So
They
yeah,
are.
I don't know if I can handle a big dog. I can't even handle two little dogs. Really, it's crazy.
It's a lot. Okay, so what are some tips and tricks to get talent
Hmm.
to get there,
Yeah.
when
So
switching from a
yeah,
commercial audition to announcer
right.
audition? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I would say like, use your physicality, and it
I'm
was
gonna
funny
write
because
this down.
when I showed when I did the breakout session on this at BO Atlanta, I had a slide in my presentation that said, "When in doubt, shrug it out," and
Yeah.
it was like seven
Oh.
pictures of Larry David going like this.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
Right.
like, if you think about that, when you're talking and you're shrugging, it's like, I got I just, or whatever the product is, if
Introducing
you,
Meow Mix.
yeah, see, like, yeah, just
Yeah.
like that. But
Shrug it
It
yeah,
off.
I mean,
doesn't clump.
yeah, exactly. If you can like add some shrugs, you can hear it. You can definitely hear it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let and with again, if you can connect to the script and let your personal experience with any product that be your guide,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then I think that's a good tip to try and get in the zone, and you should do that anyways if you are ready to, I mean, so many talents will just go and hit record, but I think if you could take the extra 5 minutes and go to the website, go and check out the product,
Absolutely.
do
Oh,
your
oh,
research,
yeah.
look at older
100%.
spots and stuff like that. That's gonna give you the advantage, especially if it's an audition.
If you're
I
not
don't
doing that,
know.
you're not stepping up.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
I recommend it. I highly recommend it, and it'll also help you for pronunciations too if you are stuck in anything and no one gives it to
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you also find out who's the audience you're talking to as well. And then another thing is, I mean, we're all doing it. Hopefully, we're listening to tons of podcasts. So you want to listen to the way your host reads an ad just to get that flavor. And you want to also like think about if an ad is dropped into the podcast, does it sound right? Does it fit?
Hmm.
Hopefully, I
Mhm.
would like to say in our world it fits, but there are other companies also dropping ads in podcasts. Are they doing it right? I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
I've
So,
heard a few that have not.
right. So does it interrupt the flow and make you
Yeah.
go, oh, I want to skip this. I'm going to skip it. But if it's like, if it's similar to what you're listening to, like in the way their style of their talking and stuff like that, then you're going to probably be
Doesn't.
more apt to
Sure.
listen to it, I would imagine. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, nothing salesy. Shouldn't have any salesy business at all. And it's tough though when you hit a script that's chock full of client bullet points. How do you do that? That's a challenge of voiceover right there, right? In
Yeah.
general.
So not salesy. The opposite of salesy is kind of calm and
Yeah, calm,
smooth,
cool. Yeah, just really just chill. And again,
chill.
like we talked about earlier, like try to develop a lead-in story, for that like
Yep.
that Etsy example, hey, I got this necklace from my grandmother. Oh, where'd I get it? Etsy, the global marketplace for blah blah blah, or so yeah, like that, and just also I like when I hear stuff that's all one speed,
Hmm.
a read that's all one speed, it just doesn't
Hmm.
work. You have to
Huh.
Hmm.
vary your pacing so it's
The
like a real
pace.
conversational, real
Hmm.
conversation. I'm talking fast, I'm talking slower. I want to get this point
Hmm.
out, but I go, so I don't know. See, I'm
Hmm.
shrugging. I'm shrugging. Here we go. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Look at me. Look at me. I'm
definitely,
shrugging.
and
I'm
that
shrugging.
again, it all goes. I think it goes for a lot of real conversational reads too. I would imagine, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
these points really, I think, are more effective too in the podcast environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
We're
Well, I
going to
think
take a
about,
quick. Okay,
okay, go
go.
ahead. I was just going to say, I think about having a podcast in my earbuds and walking along and having this great, lovely afternoon, and the podcast is going, and then a jarring commercial in my earbuds. Ah,
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
that to me brings it home. Like, oh, right, you just want to keep the same flow, the same rhythm
yeah,
Yeah, so do your
of
research
what's
on.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
well,
And
depending
I
on what's
mean,
going on. Right.
yeah, at the beginning when we started out, it's like, well, we don't want to use music, we don't want to use, sound design. But some clients are asking for it, and
Mm.
I would say, sure, let's do it if it's tasteful and not
Hmm.
just abrupt. We don't want to start an ad with a truck horn. You know what I mean? It's like, so, but yeah, maybe light music,
Sure.
it just, but something abrupt
Like
or like,
easy listening, Steve.
sure,
Some
yes,
yacht rock. Some yacht
yacht
rock.
rock, yes. I
Yeah.
highly recommend
Spa
the
music.
Yacht Rock documentary on HBO or
Oh,
Max or
cool.
whatever it's called
I saw
now,
that
back
there.
to HBO Max.
It's back
Yeah.
to HBO Max. Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
really good
Okay.
Cool.
documentary,
I'm
It's
by the
on my
way.
in.
list.
Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
in.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I have two more questions for you that talent are really going to want to know about. One is what you wish we'd stop doing. Other one was that Pandora has had a roster for, I'm going to say 10 years. You would know obviously better than me. Approximately, maybe 8. And it's got this huge long wait list. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what it looks like right now. So we'll be right back. Hi, everybody. We're just cutting in here to talk about our current sponsor. The Vorg is our sponsor, the VoiceOver Resource Guide. So that's voiceoverresourceguide.com. They update their paper version. Is it twice a year or 3
I
times a
don't
year?
know, actually.
I think it might be 3 times a year. At any rate, right, their latest one is coming out in June. So if you get on their newsletter, you can certainly go. Oh, here's the thing. Their meetup to release their latest one is at the Voicecaster in Burbank.
Woo!
And
Fun.
a pizza party and stuff. So get on their newsletter. Anyway, they have a website and a paper copy, as we have mentioned before, and it's absolutely chock full of the latest resources that every voice talent needs. So check that out. Back to the show. Okay, so we're back. We are pummeling Steve with talent questions. And
Are you
so
okay, Steve?
You hanging in there?
Let me think about that. Yeah, I'm fine.
So first, we want to know what you wish talent would stop doing when they audition for scripts.
Okay. Well, in our world, there is less auditions. Because when we send a talent
the spot,
the spot, they got the gig.
right? I had a
But
feeling
when
I
there
was
are
saying that.
auditions,
Yeah.
ooh, what bugs me about that? I think too many takes
Okay.
is one. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't have the rule book for auditions, and correct me if I'm wrong, because y'all are doing like tons of auditions every day, I assume. Um, what's the general amount it takes you would send off? 2 tops?
It depends how long the script. If it's super short, I would send 3.
Yeah,
maybe.
if it's a one line, you could probably
Yeah.
just do a handful of them. And if it's a character too, you probably could do a couple styles, I would imagine, which work. But if it's
Like
an audition, like a 30 or a 60, getting 4 of them
too much.
puts me in a place that makes me think you're not confident. Just because of that.
That's huge. Actually,
I don't know, but that's the thing I assume. And I know that may not be the case for everybody, but that's what I'm taking out of it, is that you're not confident in giving me the best you have, because you're just giving me too much to like, and now it's my job to go and pick the best. And I don't want to do that.
Right.
2 is cool, but yeah, I get 4, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here? I'm almost tempted to email it back and say, which one is your favorite? But
interesting.
we may not agree. Ultimately, my goal is to give and usually it's either for us or the client wants auditions. It's either us, like we're doing a campaign ourselves with the creative directors and stuff like, and the copywriters on my team, and we're responsible for the casting and want to make sure it's correct for everyone's vision, or we're working with a client that wants the auditions and they want to hear the auditions. So my job is to package them up for them in that scenario. But if there's 4, I guess now you put me in a position where I have to go and listen to all 4 and pick the best.
Well, which is time consuming, and that's a super bummer.
It's not that. Yeah, it is, and it isn't. But again, you've already put that in my mind that you're not confident. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, oh, maybe I won't give them any of yours. No, I wouldn't do that. I would. No, I would never do that. But yeah, I have to sit and pick, and it's like, well, that's hard. But I will also run it by some other people too. Like usually in that scenario, I'll be like, well, I picked B and C. What do you think about? What are your 2 favorites? And then we get a consensus from there, and that makes it easier. And
then you fight it out.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's maybe about it. And then like sometimes when there's slates that really I know,
say
like
it, Steve, say it.
I know. I'm trying to. I'm like,
no, at Sovas, like we did like an audition contest at Sovas, so we get all these auditions, and everyone slates. But when you get a guy like who's slating with that radio voice, it's just like Steve Pogatch, for Tide, for Tide detergent. I immediately like go into that place. It's like, oh, this is not going to work
Hmm.
because that slate has already kind of soured my brain to think this is the radio imaging
Hmm.
style of audition,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they change ultimately, hopefully. But
Hmm.
I'm like, that slate is gonna it throws me. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
So
Yeah,
the
So
you
it's
have to
slate
be
really
has to
very
weird.
be
careful with your slate.
the slate has to
Yeah,
be as natural
I
As
would
the
think
as
so.
piece, as
the
the script,
read.
similar
Yeah.
to the script.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then when it's off like that, it's like it's already throwing bias into my brain.
Hmm.
Sure.
And I'm like thinking, oh, this radio voice is gonna try and read this super mellow conversational Tide detergent read. And it's like sometimes it'll surprise me, but it's like, yeah. So
So the trick is though, do the spot and then do your slate at the end after you've gotten into the flavor of the spot,
mm,
and then you can tack your slate onto the front. My two cents.
that's a good
Mm.
tip. Yeah.
That is a good tip.
Yeah.
Mm.
Since I'm not a talent, I just hear them. It's like I don't know what to do, but I
Well,
like that
that's the
idea.
thing. You are so brilliant as a producer, so that when you get 4 takes, and okay, aside from not being confident, the talent thinks, well, I wonder which one they will like best, because I don't really know. I'm in my silo, I'm in a vacuum, and
Hmm.
the producer's going to know more. And
What
if
if
it's,
they have a vision of something upbeat? Oh my gosh. And I gave them something low key. Right.
Mm.
yeah, so hard to
But
know.
if they also, if they, I'm totally open to like them communicating with me too and saying, hey,
Of course you
I
are.
give you 4 takes, because
Mm,
this, and this.
right.
And maybe and I'm always open to giving feedback to talents too. So if they ask me for feedback, I'd be honest with them, and
Cool.
that may help the situation to just have that communication back and forth. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
again, it also depends on time. Usually when you're doing auditions, you're already a day behind in
Mhm.
getting everything packaged up for whoever's going
Sure.
to listen to
Okay.
them. And then,
Sure.
it always adds time to the timeline of the whole campaign from start to
Right.
finish. If you're adding auditions into the mix, other than just casting, recording, producing, done.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the last question is, what does because inquiring minds want to know, what does the roster look like now? Before you had, I don't know, hundreds,
You
and
had
then you
like
narrowed,
over 500, I thought.
yeah, and then you narrowed it
Of
down, and there
of
was
talents.
Express, and yeah.
Oh,
So, like, what does it look like now at Pandora in terms of the talent that you use and
sure.
the amount?
Yeah, we have about, I would say, 230 talents at the moment, which
Mm-hmm.
is a really good number, I would say, with maybe 25 to 30 of them being kids.
Mm-hmm.
Love
And
that.
the way we have kids on a roster is they have to be related to a talent that's on a roster
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So that makes everything easier.
Mm-hmm.
So, but and then we have an applicant queue, which
Mm-hmm.
is like, after I do any kind of a workshop or go to, a conference or something, I was like, hey, how do I apply for your roster?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always just say, the doors are always open,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like I haven't even looked in a while, but this applicant queue is scary. It's
In the
like
hundreds and
it's
hundreds of
almost
them.
like you have a yeah, it's almost like you have a closet in your house and you keep stuffing stuff into it, and then you open the doors and everything just kind of feels like that. That's kind of how I feel
Oh
about it
one
right
gosh.
now.
one kickball comes out and you're
I
like,
mean,
ah!
God, it's a nice problem to have,
Yeah.
and I know that I need to start going chipping away at it and going, okay,
Mm,
this person's not going to work. And just
mm,
kind of do. But I'm just busy all the time and don't have time, so I need to just like get a
You
crew
need an
together and go,
assistant.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, or just find time that people and just have some like my coworkers actually and myself go through them. And I don't like to be the first person to listen to stuff because if I've met somebody in
mm,
person and I know them or something, I don't
mhm,
want that bias to be
Bias.
in there.
mhm.
So
Good.
my ears are off of it until my review crew
Mhm,
that'll assemble listens to and go, yeah, we like this person. Then I'll put my ears on it, or then we'll decide to audition somebody. So that's how it kind of works. At the end of the year, we do make space in our roster for, we kind of offload like 10 to 20 talents or so every year. People who aren't booking, who, aren't who haven't evolved with us, like I mentioned, the radio voice, when it started 11 plus years ago, there was more of that radio style voice. And now it's a lot less of that. But if they haven't been able to evolve to the new conversational casual realm, then, it's like, okay, well, it's not working for us anymore. Or just like some people haven't booked a spot in 2 years or so. Yeah, if there's a specialty that they have that we might need, yeah, it doesn't cost us anything to keep them, but also may as well analyze this and see if we can make space for someone else.
But when you say
So
someone's not booking, you don't do auditions. So do the clients choose talent from your roster kind of thing?
sometimes the clients are starting to like more often like ask for a packet of samples.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll package them up for the client and, just maybe give like, 10 to 15 choices and let them choose. And I always take it personal. I'm like, why don't you trust my casting abilities?
Right.
But I can't do that because I know the
Right.
clients want what they want. So
Yeah.
I just have to like, just take a deep breath and go, okay, let's give them what they want.
Have you noticed that as the generations are changing in terms of up and coming clients and the positions, do you find that the younger generations want more options, or are they more likely to trust you? Is that a thing?
No, I think it's based on the client. Like certain
It's just based
clients
on the
will
client.
always want to choose the talents themselves, or
Okay.
like they want that control, or which is fine. But whenever I can cast, or anyone on our team, the producers cast, I assume that everyone has a good knowledge of our roster pretty well and know what they want. If not, they can always hit me up and I can give them suggestions, which I always offer to do, even on my vacation, which I'm on right now. No one's bothered me yet, so luckily.
Oh, good.
Except us, the Shazam
No,
of
no.
voiceover. Okay, Steve, once again, you are just so generous with your time and your knowledge. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us today.
Cheers, Steve.
Speechless.